Virginia Tech and South Carolina, week one of the 2025 college football season. Another big game here, friends. Another preview and breakdown. Let's go ahead. Let's get started, man. Let's just get right into it. So we have another neutral siter here. I'm not a big fan, man. I'm not. I don't enjoy the neutral site games. I just wish they weren't a thing. Like I think about Blacksburg, Virginia, and Inner Sandman and this atmosphere in a week one game against South Carolina, or I think about Williams-Brice and Darude Sandstorm and what that would have been with the Hokies coming into town. I'm just like, how do we take away such amazing atmospheres from two schools that have exactly that? It's a shame. But anyway, this game takes place in Atlanta. It's going to be a Sunday game. So this one is the noon Eastern kickoff before the Notre Dame-Miami game later that night. So this one will be a standalone game. There will be no other college games on at this time, only one game after it. I'm looking forward to it, man. I think the cool little nugget about this one, obviously, is Shane Beamer, the South Carolina head coach, of course, is the son of Frank Beamer, who is a historic and legendary Virginia Tech former head coach. So I think that's cool. Obviously, I'm sure Frank will be there. He'll probably be watching his son, cheering on the Hokies, but also cheering on his son. Who knows, man? It'll be interesting. But let's go ahead. Let's start with Virginia Tech and Brent Pry's football team. This is going to be a new look football team entirely. Two new coordinators, both defensive and offensive, 30 new faces between recruits and portal players. Last year was not an awful year for Virginia Tech. They went 6-7. Now, Brent Pry has only had one winning season since he's been at Vatech. It's now year 4, and what's in store is an entirely new look. Let's start on the offensive side. Only 2 returning starters, and by starters, I mean from the full season. Quarterback Kyron Drones is really going to be one of your biggest in terms of production on the offensive side of the ball, and tight end Benji Gosnell returns as well. Now, Aiden Green, wide receiver, who had about 280 yards receiving, and I want to say like 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there catches, started to have a little bit of a foot towards the end of the year, started to make a name for himself. So he's going to be big. So if you really want to stretch it there, you could say 3 returning starters. But outside of that, this offense was decimated. All 5 offensive linemen are gone. Most of the production from that offense last year, the little they had, considering they were 88th in total offense, and in terms of passing offense, they were 16th out of 17 teams in the ACC. Well, what do? They go get a new offensive coordinator. Philip Montgomery, former Tulsa head coach, comes in to take over the reins. He is going to be huge for this offense, and he's already stated multiple times, and we've seen what he did at Tulsa. He loves to push the ball deep. He loves to take shots. He loves to get it down the field. Now, that all sounds great, but when you're playing against South Carolina and the defensive line that they have, how in the world are you going to have time to do that is my biggest question, okay? Virginia Tech adds transfers to that offensive line, but it's going to be a plug-and-play situation. Like, it's 5 new guys. They have a new offensive line coach coming in with Philip Montgomery. So what can that offensive line do? Can they give Kyron Drones time? Can Kyron Drones stay healthy? And can they push the ball down the field? That's going to be the objective. Now, South Carolina's secondary is extremely good, and they return a lot of talent in that secondary as well. So it's a scary, scary matchup for Virginia Tech when you think about the amount of talent that South Carolina defense has. But who do they bring in on the offensive line is really the question. Okay, Thomas Rymack comes in. He'll more than likely start. Kyle Altumer will probably start as well. And a couple other guys that, again, they're just going to have to piece this offensive line together. I think they got, I want to say almost like 3 or 4 guys from West Virginia, somewhere in that neighborhood. It almost looked like, when you look at their portal class, it was like half the West Virginia offensive line transferred to Virginia Tech. So it's kind of funny. I guess they wanted to stay in state and get a change of scenery. Who knows? Well, not in state, of course, but right next door and get a change. Who knows? And now they also bring in some running back talent as well. Terrion Stewart from Bowling Green's going to be a good get for them. They're going to need production at that position big time. It's going to be tough as it is to just move the ball. They're going to have to be able to run the ball as well. Anything is better than 88th in terms of total offense. Now, they also bring in a couple good receivers. So Aiden Green, of course, from last year, we saw his production ramp up. I think really the chemistry between him and Kyron Drones that they've had the time to build, and the little bit that he did play last year is going to really serve beneficial. They also have Donovan Green, who transfers in. They bring in Cameron Seldon as well. So talent is being brought into this offense. But guys, like I've said, the biggest question mark for Virginia Tech is, can they avoid turnovers? The South Carolina defense was 8th in the country in takeaways per game. If Virginia Tech wants a chance, they have to avoid turnovers, and they have to be able to stay on the field. They got to put together drives. Kyron Drones has to stay healthy for one, and that offensive line is going to have to find ways to give him enough time to push the ball downfield. Can they run the ball as well? Lots of questions. It can absolutely happen. I trust in Philip Montgomery. The game plan is going to have to be pretty darn stout, though, against this South Carolina team. Now, let's talk about Virginia Tech's defense, because there's a lot to talk about over there, too. New defensive coordinator, Kevin Seifkis, I want to say is how you pronounce it. Seifkis, 33 years old, young stud. He was the linebackers coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Go Cardinals, by the way. He comes in and takes over this defense that returns a little bit more than the offense, which is nice. He gets 3 returning starters. Kevin Gilliam Jr. on the defensive line is going to be big. And the most vital part for him that he gets is his 2 starting linebackers from last year that really had a great end of the season. The chemistry and the continuity between these 2 guys at the end of the year last year, given this defense experience right in the heart of it between both Jaden Keller and Caleb Woodson is going to be massive. You know, those 2 guys to at least anchor what it's going to take him time to build, and considering he was a former linebackers coach, I think Sifkis could have some success. Now, Virginia Tech's defense was not that bad last year. Ironically enough, I mean, they were 56th in both rush yards per game and pass yards per game. So right in the middle-ish, actually really higher than the middle, a little above average countrywide, so to speak. So, I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, and they loaded up in the portal on safety. Sherrod Coble from Clemson comes in. Tyson Flowers will probably start back there at safety for this defense. The secondary is going to be interesting. They bring in some defensive line transfers as well. No huge names, though. They weren't able to get any big-time names. So, again, I think the entirety of this game for Virginia Tech is going to be how well can they come out, how true can they stand the test of a really good South Carolina team. Let's talk about South Carolina and Shane Beamer. It's been a fun ride for Shane Beamer. It's been a little up and down. Last year was 9 wins, though. Last year was an extremely good season for him. Again, like we said earlier, he's playing against his dad's former team. I'm excited to see what South Carolina has in store. 9 returning starters in total. On the offensive side of the ball, which is where we're going to start, Mike Shula is the new offensive coordinator now. Former OC, took a job with Appalachian State. Mike Shula comes in. He takes over. He was already there as a senior assistant on the offense and kind of a pseudo quarterbacks coach. So, I mean, it's not really a drastic change by any stretch. Lenora Sellers returns. Nick Harbor returns. They get both their left tackle and their right tackle return as well, and tight end Michael Smith returns on the offensive side of the ball. So a good amount of production returns. Of course, Lenora Sellers being the biggest one. 18 touchdowns last year. Now 7 interceptions, not awful, but a good year out of Lenora Sellers. I think there's still a lot of room for growth with him. How well can he throw the football is the biggest question mark to me. That South Carolina passing attack wasn't great last year, but it wasn't terrible. I want to see Nick Harbor get more production. I want to see them utilize him because he is a mismatch nightmare for Virginia Tech. Nobody in that secondary can truly cover Nick Harbor, and I don't think anybody on that defense can really keep up with Lenora Sellers if he's able to get out of the pocket. Now, the problem that this offense had last year was Lenora Sellers was sacked way too many times. There was only 2 games all year last year that South Carolina didn't give up a sack. They were 129th in QB sack percentage, almost 11%. I think it was 10.9% of the time of snaps Lenora Sellers was sacked. Ridiculous. Again, 129th out of 134 teams. That has to be better. That offensive line will absolutely outsize Virginia Tech's defensive line, and they should not have any issues. Now, let's talk about running back. 2 transfers. Isaiah Augustov from Colorado. We saw him have a little bit of production on Dion's team last year with Shador and Travis, and he had some good snaps, some good carries last year. He comes to South Carolina. He will get a good amount of production. I think the starter is going to be Rasul Faison from Utah State. So the running back room is going to be good. It's not going to be as effective as last year, in my opinion, but then again, we'll see. I mean, like I said, South Carolina added depth to that offensive line through the transfer portal as well. So they added Boaz Stanley, who's a center. I think he will probably start. I know Rodney Dawson, I believe is his name, also comes and transfers in. He's also a center, a little bit smaller than Bo Stanley, so I think Stanley's going to get the nod at that position. So the offense, guys, again, the key to this is just establish a run game. They shouldn't have too many issues with that at all. Secondly is push the ball down the field, get Nick Harbor involved early, and let Lenora Sellers do his thing. Again, South Carolina outmatches Virginia Tech on paper. That doesn't mean everything. There's going to be a lot of emotions. It's week 1. Mistakes will happen. But on paper, South Carolina is the better football team. So do they play like that offensively? Does new offensive coordinator Mike Shula get that offense kind of flowing and just in a smooth rhythm? I look for Florida State really to come out and pound the rock. They weren't an offense that threw the ball an obscene amount last year. They love to be a balanced offense. I'm certain Shula is going to be a similar approach to that. So I think South Carolina is going to try to methodically move the ball down the field and spice in some Nick Harbor deep routes in there as well. Now let's talk about the defense, man. Clayton White, what a beast of a defensive coordinator. If you're looking at the coaching carousel at the end of this year, keep this name in mind. He could very well be there. This is now, he's been with South Carolina as their defense coordinator since 2021. So he's done an incredible job at this program, and he's got a lot of returning talent coming in. It's only 4, but I say a lot because these 4 guys are huge. Dylan Stewart, who doesn't know Dylan Stewart? He is massive on that defensive line. He is going to cause havoc. Again, for Virginia Tech, there's always a hope, but I don't know how they're going to stop this guy without doubling him. I mean, he very well may be one of the best defensive ends in the country, and he's still how young. He is going to be huge in this game and huge for South Carolina just in general. Now, the secondary for South Carolina is what's really going to cause havoc for teams, and especially Virginia Tech in this one. Both Collier and Kilgore, 2 secondary guys, are back. They also get their safety DQ Smith back as well. Now, I think Kilgore might move to the nickel position, and then I think they're probably going to start cornerback Brandon Cece, transfer portal guy from NC State, at a corner position. We'll see how they move that around. I'm not sure if Kilgore will play at the corner or they'll move him to the nickel. Nonetheless, this secondary is going to be just as good as they were last year. I mean, they were 11th in opponent points per game as a defense, and the secondary was a big part of that as well. So they also bring in linebacker Sean Murphy. They get a huge defensive line transfer in Brownlow Dindy from Texas A&M. We remember him, who had a great year last year. So, guys, I mean, the South Carolina defense is stacked. Again, like I said earlier, they were 8th in the country in takeaways per game last year, averaging exactly 2. I mean, in a game where you're going to be favored, of course, the line sits at -8. 2 takeaways will almost put this thing really tough out of reach. Now, Virginia Tech's going to have a lot of emotion coming into this game. Brent Pry is getting to the hot seat talk. It could be this year. We'll see. I'm not sure what the needle or what the bar is for the expectations on Brent Pry this year. Now, Shane Beamer, of course, is coming in thinking, hey, we just won 9 games. We may have just barely missed out on the playoff. Is this the season where we finally make it to the playoff, hit that 10-win mark, move forward, and continue to grow as a program and compete tougher and tougher in the SEC each and every year? Now, Virginia Tech, again, like I said, how much emotion do they come in? It's an entirely new culture over there. It's an entirely new look team. Do they come in fresh, fired up, ready to go in a neutral site, which is going to benefit them a lot? We shall see, man. I am extremely excited for this game, guys. And again, as always, I appreciate you for being here. Let me know who you think wins this one. I think it's going to be a good game. I do feel as though South Carolina is the favorite for a reason, of course. I will give those predictions as we get closer to the season. I'm not going to do it yet. Not going to spoil it. But again, thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys soon.